Who isn't superstitious? I know. That's a pretty bold question to put out there, isn't it? But I would say it is a rhetorical one. Why? Well, I know that I am a superstitious person. To some extent, that is. Most of you listening to me right now probably are too. At least a little bit. But what does it mean? What do we mean by the word superstition? Well, the word superstition means to have excessively credulous belief in the supernatural. Your religious orientation? Superstition. A person who claims to be an atheist but still walks around with a lucky charm, say a keychain maybe. Superstition again. But why do we have these beliefs? Why do we exhibit symbolic behavior? When exactly did it start? Luckily for us, a paleoanthropologist by the name of Genevieve, in her talk titled "The Roots of Religion," attempted to answer the very question. The latter question, to be exact. The origin of superstitious beliefs. Now bear in mind, this is extremely subjective, meaning no person can ever point and say, this is exactly when it all began. No, that's not possible. Instead, she presents us with archaeological evidences that suggest the existence of such superstitious belief in modern humans. For instance, she talks about the oldest burial site known to mankind, which dates all the way back to 1,20,000 years ago. Now, the very fact that death was considered enough to be recognized at this pedigree says something about the way we think, doesn't it? But wait, add on top the fact that various perforated seashells were found over those burial sites as a sign of paying respect, and now boom, we have something in our hands, don't we? Let me take you to a more interesting burial site. This one is in Russia and is about 20,000 years old. It is a burial site of 3 people, an adult male and 2 children, a boy and a girl. The interesting part is that the bodies of the deceased were found covered with ivory beads. Now later, by experimental archaeology, it was found that one such bead would take an hour to make. Now how many of these beads were found covering these bodies, you ask? A whopping 3,500 for the adult male alone. But it does not end there. 4,500 of these beads were found covering the body of the boy, and a total of 5,000 of these beads were found in the burial site of the girl. How crazy is that? This is an example for non-utilitarian thing, meaning there was no point in doing such a thing. But just look at the sheer effort and time being put into something that has no apparent reason for existence except for superstition. The list doesn't end there either. We have many such things, such as impossible entities, creatures that are impossible to be found in reality. Creatures like, for example, a head of a lion and the body of a human being. These were portrayed in cave paintings and possibly worshipped too. Shamanistic practices, shamanism, and hunting magic, all these suggest the existence of superstitious beliefs in humans thousands and thousands of years ago. Now that we've tackled the latter question, it would be the right time for us to tackle the former. Why do we have such beliefs? In the words of Andrew Smith, people fear what they do not understand. It is quite evident at this point that superstitious beliefs are somewhat of a coping mechanism for a lot of people. When people do not understand something, they tend to attribute it with an already existing or a new superstition. Now, when this very thing is understood and resolved, there is no reason for this superstition to exist, and hence it is abolished. It's that simple, except it's not. You see, the catch is that the other people who happen to stumble across the same superstition in the meantime happen to hold on to it and believe in it long after the reason for its existence is long gone. Now, such phenomena can be explained clearly with an example of mental illness. Now, this is the part when we get into the grimmer side of such beliefs. I was talking to one of my mentors who also happens to be the organizer of this very talk. He gave a penny for my thought with this exact point. People with mental illness were attributed with a stigma of possession. Yes, paranormal possession. And these people who were challenged with these difficulties were tortured and subjected to physical harm in the name of various superstitions. Throughout the history of humanity, we have seen a lot of religious violence, but for some reason these violence are not seen with the same light as the other superstitious violence. Religious violence, to put it simply, means it is the one with religion as the subject for physical harm or violence. Terrorism, biblical wars, Israel and Arab conflicts, Palestinian issues, the list goes on and on and on. Most recently, the capturing of Kabul. Those people didn't have to die. So is this all? Is this all that superstition has to offer? Is this all bad? No, not at all. I personally have seen a lot of people in my own life who derive happiness, fulfillment, calmness, a sense of peacefulness, and most importantly, meanings in their life from many such superstitious beliefs. At this point of time, it might be debatable if one says all these supernatural entities are completely man-made, but I would be stating the absolute fact if I say the conflicts that are aroused due to these superstitions are completely and entirely man-made. Anything man-made is manageable, and anything manageable is avoidable. I would like to end my talk with a personal anecdote. I was talking to one of my friends who is a Christian, and we were having a conversation about this very topic. She was telling me about how one has to accept Jesus as their only God, which is essentially being a Christian, and live a righteous life in order to punch their ticket to go to heaven, to live out their afterlife. I simply asked, what if I were not a Christian, nor did I have faith in God, but I am the best person you will ever see, as righteous can be? Will I not be allowed to go to heaven? She was not able to answer that. The idea is simple. The idea is not to question the existence of origin of all these superstitious beliefs. Instead, it is to embark in a spiritual journey where you find the meanings and intention behind the same. If you understand that, you will be able to live a proper and prosperous life. But in my understanding, living a righteous life is the only intention of the existence of all these superstitious beliefs. If that is the case, then I would say it is completely nonsensical to conflict over the very thing that's only intention is to bring peace and harmony in our lives. And if you understand that, as an individual, you need not wait till your afterlife to go to heaven, because you'll be living in one. Thank you.